Hi there, David Thexton here from ConsultX, and welcome to podcast number 11 of Everything Business Consulting, our weekly podcast. This weekly podcast is for those of you who are already a business consultant who want to improve their skills, are a sole accountant, or you own an accounting firm and want to introduce consulting services to your firm, are an ex-corporate who wants to get out of the rat race and become a self-employed business consultant, or you've owned a business and now want to use those skills that you've learned over the years to help others in business. Now, ConsultX is an online cloud-based consulting system that has everything you require to become a successful business consultant. If you want to find out more, the website details are at the end of this podcast, and I'll give them to you now, which is www.consultx.com, but we repeat that again at the end of the podcast. Now, today's podcast is going to be a little bit different to the others. We're talking to lots of people in lots of countries around the world, and people are starting to send questions into us. So I thought we should do a podcast based on those questions. We did one a few weeks back as well, but these questions are different. So what we'll do is we'll do a podcast on these questions. I'm sure those of you who are listening will find them very interesting, and we'll also add these questions and the answers to the frequently asked questions section at the bottom of the website. So let's get started on these questions. One of the questions somebody has sent to us is very interesting program. What is the average monthly fee per client in this business? Well, it's totally up to you, but I can tell you that within the network today, and this has been recorded in the end of March 2017, the average monthly fee seems to be around about $2,800 New Zealand dollars. Which is a little bit less in Australia and a little bit less in the United States. So, but it's a simple question, but it's got a big scope of answers behind it. See, it depends. The average monthly fee, or the actual monthly fee, it's based on a whole lot of different things, and it's mainly based on how much time you're going to be spending working with the client in his business. Now, we don't work on an hourly rate. That's an absolute no-no in our system. But we do think in terms of hourly rates. Like, we've all got 40 or 50 hours a week that we dedicate to this business, and we all know what we want to earn on an annual basis, so you can very quickly convert that back into an hourly rate, and it could be $200 an hour, $200, $300, $400. It's up to what you want to achieve. So once you know what your targeted hourly rate is, you can then use the ConsultX program, which will calculate it out for you. The program, as you're going through it, asks you to make an assessment based on how many hours per month you think this client's business is going to take. Now, that is dependent on how much work's required, whether they're in a rescue, improve, or grow situation, or whether they're in dire straits, really in rescue, and you might have to spend 2 days a week there for the next 2 months or something like that. But it all comes back to that hourly rate. We don't talk hourly rates to clients. Don't go near that with a barge pole. We come up to them with a fee-based proposal to them. So we have people in our network who have clients who pay $9,000 a month in fees. And that would probably represent spending about 2 to 3 hours a week, every week, with these clients. And they're bigger clients. They've got a lot of moving parts. They're probably a $30 to $50 million client. So those fees are larger. So little clients, little turnover, little fees, and bigger clients, bigger turnover, more things are going wrong in that business and the fees get larger. But if you start back at what you want to earn per hour and then multiply that out by 1,920 hours per year, which is 48 weeks times 40 from memory, I think it is, need to get a calculator out, work that out, but you can do that. Work it out. It'll tell you what your hourly rate is, what you're going to be targeting for, and that'll help you as to what you're going to charge them. What you're actually doing here, what you've got to consider is that by the time you've taken them through the diagnostic and you've made an assessment, or the program's made an assessment of profit leakage, and it will be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars usually, then you now have a point of leverage to make a sensible win-win decision on what fees you're going to charge the client. Now, all of this is in the training in absolute detail. We can't go through it today, don't have enough time. But the thing is, if you're going to save a business in profit leakage, let's just say $500,000, then I'd be thinking about an annual fee of something like about $50,000 to $70,000, and divide that back into months. Because we try to say, and we say this over and over again in training, we say you should be targeting for a 10 to 1 return on investment for them. They give you $1, you give them $10 back. So I hope that answers your question. As I said, everything is in the training. Too much to go through today. Another question that's come up is, do you sign 3 to 5 year contracts, or are the contracts, say, month to month with a 30-day cancellation notice? No, we don't do that. And once again, the complete system's in the training. But in a nutshell, we have an open-ended contract. It has no expiry date with it because we don't want to. And remember, we've experimented with all different ways of doing this in the past. So we have an open-ended contract, but what we do have is called a break fee. And that is, if the client wants to terminate our services for whatever reason, they have to pay us on the termination day. They have to pay us the last 3 months' fees that they've paid us. They've got to be paid in one lump sum. And why is this, you ask? Well, the reason is that you're working years ahead, 5 years ahead on this client's business, and it's not really fair. It's not a fair thing for them, for whatever reason, just to terminate you on the spot. And if they do, then they need to compensate you for 3 months, because you're going to have to go out and get another client to replace the time that you had put aside for them in your calendar. And that's called a break fee. And when explained to a prospect and the reasons behind it, most people are pretty happy to do that. So it keeps the whole thing relatively flexible. But also remember too that, going back to fees again, that the fees are based on performance, and there's about 5 different methods of doing this in the training, but at the end of the day, we're paid on performance. Like, we have a base fee, which it doesn't go below. Let's just say that's $2,500 a month or something like that. And then we have another fee, which is based on a performance measure. And it could be profitability, it could be revenue, and it's mostly revenue. It could be a whole variety of things that give you the percentage increase on a month-by-month or year-by-year basis. Now, the beauty of the system is you don't need to go back and renegotiate fees, which could tend to be a little bit sticky in some instances. It's unnecessary. So so the contracts are open-ended. They can terminate, but they've got to pay 3 months. Next question here is, what is the general average time frame to acquire your first client after being in the program? That's a very good question. Well, it's up to the individual person. We have people in the network who, in fact, the best result in the network has been 5 clients in the first month. And you're going to hear from this gentleman. His name's Steve Dodd. He's in the next podcast after this, which is podcast number 11. So he's going to be in podcast 13. So what he went through his training, and it was back in the days when training was face to face. It's now all been video recorded, and he I remember in training he said to me, he said, David, if I follow this system to the letter, do you guarantee that I'll be able to sign clients? And I said, absolutely. And he said, well, I'm going to hold you to it. And he did. But he went out and he followed the program to the letter, and he became the most successful, the fastest sign-up guy we've ever had, which was 5 clients in the first month. And he only had to slow down because he had to absorb those clients into his timetable. Because once he had those clients, he was into business re-engineering and having meetings all over the place, re-engineering these businesses and building business plans for them. So he had to stop prospecting for a couple of months and then start up again, and he started signing up more clients. But you'll hear all this in detail in podcast number 13. So the average time frame, and it depends on, well, it depends on 2 things. Whether you put 100% into this, or whether you follow the program to the letter. Because I've been doing this since 2005. We've been franchising since 2009. 2016-17, we transferred the franchise over to the software as a service system, which you're looking at, and we have got a huge amount of experience in what to do and what not to do. Now, in our training, we are not going to train you on what not to do. That's insanity. We're just not going to do that. So we train you on what has been the best of the best since 2005, and most certainly since 2009, when we trained 150 consultants in the franchise system. So yeah, that average time to get your first client, if you're full time, if you follow the system precisely, and if you absolutely focus on it, then you're going to get clients faster than somebody who's doing a transition. And by transition, I mean somebody who's working and they want to transition from being in employment to becoming a self-employed consultant, and they can only put a few hours a week into it. Obviously, it's going to take a lot longer for them. I'll come to that question in a minute, but because that's another question. But yeah, so I would say training will take you a week. If you were full-time on this, training would take you a week. There is 25 hours of videos that you go through, and you can easily do that in 5 working days. It's only 5 hours a day. Let's say 6 if you took your time. And then you start on Monday, and then you go on to another series of videos, which is called the 13-week marathon plan. Because as you probably know, around the world, where they have marathons, all the local newspapers have a lift-out section, and you're going to run the marathon, and here is the next 13 weeks, here's what you need to do. Well, it's based on that. So what we do is the 13-week marathon plan. Every Monday morning, first thing in the morning, you watch these videos. They're about 25 minutes long, and then you go out and you do what's in that video. And then week 2, you watch the next video, and so on for 13 weeks. So the marathon plan was based on what Steve Dodd, who I mentioned earlier, what he did. He put together the most comprehensive marathon plan that I'd ever seen in the whole network since we've been in this business. So we used his marathon plan to model this on, and it went really well. So the thing is, the average time frame, that I can't give you that answer. All I can tell you is if you work 100% on this and you really have passion and determination to do well in this business, then you should see your first client at the end of the 2nd week, I would say, because there is a 3-meeting process. We call it a 3-meeting close. And what that means is that the first meeting is a discovery meeting, which is about an hour long. And that's the meeting where you get all of the challenges from the business owner. And the 2nd meeting, which is generally 2 days or so later, is the diagnostic meeting where you feed in a little bit of financial information, and the owner of the business ranks himself on all of the important elements that he needs in his business to be successful. And then the software takes over, and the software calculates how much money or how much profit is leaking out of his business because he hasn't got these systems or processes in the particular business. And then after that, there's the third meeting is the proposal and the signing of the agreement. So generally, most client prospects sign in the third meeting. Some of them go to a fourth or a fifth meeting, another couple of 30-minute or so meetings. So like I said, as a general rule, you should be signing your first client at the end of the second week because you've got to go through those meetings with them. And there's no shortcut to do this. Like you've got to. The meetings are designed to build a case for you being the consultant to come and help them and to solve their problems or solve their challenges. So yeah. Next question, do you have online methods for marketing to clients? We do have. We're just launching at the end of April version 5 of ConsultX, and one of the big changes that we put in is we built a CRM, a customer relationship management system within ConsultX, so that it can we can put all of your prospects and clients in there, and you can keep track of them within our system. Now the thing is, also in that CRM system is a pretty simple online marketing system where you have all of your people divided up into leads, prospects, and clients, and you send email-based things to them: offers, vouchers, newsletters, all of those kinds of things. That's about as far as we go that we believe that we need to go. This isn't the sort of business where you sort of use things like LinkedIn or Facebook extensively. This is a relationship-based business, a face-to-face business, FaceTime as they call it. So you do most of your work in front of the prospects, but we do have online methods for marketing to clients, and we've been doing them manually, but now they've been automated. Next question, are you expected to be on site with the client, or is this all done from your home office? Well, you get the best results when you are on site with your client. It might not be on site. We have some people who have a home office and the client comes to them. Some people have an office with their accountant, client comes to them. Some people have a serviced office, and some people have an office that they have got themselves in a business area, and the clients come to them. But it's kind of really about 50-50. You need to go to the business for a percentage of the meetings because you need to be tuned into what's going on there. But also, too, some of the best work is done when the client is off-site. So it's not all done from your office. It's not the sort of business where you can do it through GoToMeeting or Skype or something like that. It's very much a relationship-based business because that's how you get the best results, is when you're face-to-face with your client and their management team. Next question, how does this work if you currently have a full-time job? Well, we touched on that before. Some people want to or have to transition. They can't just finish on a Friday from their job and have no income and then wait for a month or 2 or 3 weeks, however long it is, before they get their first client. I'll just stop there for 1 second. Another thing about the way we do this is clients pay in advance. So when you get your first client, you get the first payment as well. You don't have to wait. So just park that there for a second. So, full-time job. Some people transition. Some people, because they have to or want to keep the income flowing, what they do is they go to their boss and they tell their boss what they're going to do. Now, you're not in competition against the company you're working for. You're going out on your own. So, and they do a deal with the boss, and they say, "Look, boss, I'm going to be an independent business consultant, and I'm going to be leaving, but I don't want to leave you with a problem. So I'd like to negotiate a period of time where I slow down my hours with the company, and I train the new person coming in so it's completely seamless." So you might have 10 hours off the first week and 15 off the next and 20 and so on, until you've transitioned across to full time, and that will keep the income going. Now, the ideal situation is that you sign your first client as you're finishing up with your job. So that's all I can really tell you on that. We have people who transition. We have people who just finish on Friday and start on Monday, and they tear into it. It's totally up to your individual circumstances on how you do it. Okay, now next question is about somebody here trying to get to the point of total operating costs for my business plan, etc. Okay, good question. Well, virtually nothing. Like, everybody's got a computer, they've all got a mobile phone, 99% of people have got cars. That is basically about it. You obviously need an email address, which you've got, and you may want to set up a website, which is not very expensive nowadays. If you're computer savvy, you can do it yourself. But I'd suggest that you concentrate on consulting and get a website guy or girl to come in and help you do that. That's really that's the total cost. There's nothing else. You don't need an office at the start. You don't even need a service office at the start. You can start from your home office. I'm sitting in a home office now, looking out the window at all the green pastures of New Zealand here south of Auckland. So you can be anywhere in the world, but you do need to, one thing which we touched on before is you need to be working with business owners that are kind of within I don't know, 20k radius, something like that. The best consulting businesses that I've seen in our network are ones where they have dominated in a small town, a small industrial area near where they live. I'm looking out my window at about 6 kilometres in the distance, so I can see a little town called Drury. It has 180 businesses. I would suggest that around about 120 of them are potential consulting clients. So if I was starting on Monday as a consultant, I would go down to Drury, I would pamphlet drop, I'd visit every owner, I would do newsletters to them, I would absolutely love them to death, all 120 of them. I would do seminars down there. I would become the mayor of Drury without the gold chains. I would have my car sign written. My car would be around there. Of those 120 prospects, in under a month, I would probably sign up about 6 to 8 of them. But then I know our system backwards, and I know how this works. You'd expect me to be the best out there, but I've become the mayor of Drury. So my advice to you is that condense down these business areas. You don't get paid for driving from one side of town to the other. Next question. What support or cost involved with setting up a web page, and what ongoing cost? Well, if you set up a web site, just a simple website, is very, very cheap. It's only a few $100s. And really, when you think about it, a website for a business consultant is really only an online brochure. And we have brochures anyway. We supply you templates for brochures, templates for business cards, templates for vouchers. All this marketing stuff is all available to you once you become a member of ConsultX. So whether you need a website or not is got a bit of a question mark on top of it. I don't think I would. I wouldn't need to. I'd use my brochure, which we have prepared for you. You just put in your logo and name and your bio, etc., and that sort of thing, and get it printed by a printer. Away you go. Next question is ConsultX supplying this within the monthly license? No, there's too many of you. We can't do that. We just can't. You need to get if you want to get a website, then you need to do it yourself. But I don't see at this stage, as a sole consultant, I don't see the need for it. Maybe when and if you start a consulting firm within our system, you get a website and you put all your associate consultants on there, but not when you're starting out. It's not required. Don't get distracted by all of these sorts of things. I had one guy about 4 years ago who spent 3 weeks trying to find a wire binder to bind his proposals, because I mentioned that they were the best in training. Because I spoke to him 3 weeks later and said, "What are you doing, Brian?" And he said, I haven't found that binder yet. How many prospects have you seen? Oh, none. I'm waiting till I get a binder so I can bind my my booklets. Go, oh my gosh. See, what are you doing? You can have mine. I'll send mine down on the courier to you. Get going. Anyway, next question. What material for client attraction / retention can be supplied via the web page and other online services, Facebook, etc.? Don't 100% understand that question, but as I mentioned, we have all the marketing tools that you'll need. Templates, you just put your name and your logo in there and all that sort of thing. You just got to go and get it printed. Via the web page and other online services, Facebook. You can do Facebook if you want to, but I tell you, this is a face-to-face business. This is not as difficult as it seems. Like walking into a business area and saying, "Hi, my name's David Thexton. I'm from Thexton Consulting. I'd like to talk to you about your business." Is a piece of cake, absolute piece of cake. Like 5 days down in Drury, I'd be the mayor of Drury in 5 days. I would have gone to every single one of those businesses that all have my card, that all have my brochure. I would have arranged discovery meetings with probably at least half of them. The other half I'd be inviting to seminars. Like, I'd be super duper active. All of these tactics are all in the training, by the way. So we're not you're not going to miss out on anything. Please supply any information related to the typical overall operational cost for a consultant to work with ConsultX. We did talk about that. Almost nothing. You've already got it all. Car, phone, computer. I was going to say wire binder, but I'm scared to say that now. A binder to bind your proposals together. But there's nothing wrong with the staple. Yeah, it's that there are no operational costs. And if you can get your prospecting area really condensed, then your fuel costs will be very low as well. Next question, do I need to be an accountant or have similar training? I have a lot of business experience, but I'm not very good at financials. Well, within the program, there is a training program to get you good at financials. I'm not talking about being a chartered accountant type level, but you don't need to be an expert on this. Like, you don't need to know how to build an engine to drive your car to work, do you? No, you don't. This is the same thing. We use accountants and we use them to provide all of the numbers that we work with the clients on. So you don't need to be an accountant to do this kind of work. It's that you mentioned I have a lot of business experience. You said, but that's fine. That's where it is. Like the accountancy side of it is really the measurement side. When you drive your car, you've got a speedometer, fuel gauge, you've got a water temperature gauge, and you're looking out the front window. All of these things you know how to do, but you don't know how to build a car, you don't know how to build an engine. And that's the same sort of thing. An accountant is there, or a bookkeeper and accountant is there to provide the information for you to interpret. And you'll be using accounting numbers to measure the progress of the changes that you have made within the client's business. So don't worry about that. In fact, there's, out of everybody in the network, I'm just trying to think, I think there's less than 5% are accountants. So I hope that helps you. Next question. What training is provided, as well as what ongoing resources and support are provided in return for the monthly fee? I don't know what that exactly means. I think you mean about the client monthly fee. Well, the thing is, what you're doing with the client is you are working with them on a 5-year business plan. Why 5 years? Because it takes 5 years to be able to do a really good job of building this business. And if we're looking to make dramatic improvements and to turn what is an average business into a fantastic business, it's going to take a number of years. So whilst you're working with the client, you have 2 main meetings a month. One is an implementation meeting, because it's really important that all of the decisions that were made and put into the business plan, all of them are turned into tasks and those tasks are delegated and those tasks are implemented and they actually happen, that they've been completed. Because if you traditional consulting, they go in there, they build a business plan, they give it to the owner, he puts it on the shelf in his office and nobody looks at it again and dust piles up on it. We don't do that. We have 12 meetings a year, 12 implementation meetings per year where we get things done. And that's what drives the business forward. We also have 12 meetings per year, which are the management meetings, which is finances and key performance indicators, which are the measurement meetings. So we do that for the client. Sometimes with very large clients, we might be there 3 weeks a month or possibly even 4 weeks a month for a few hours. It all depends on size, as I mentioned earlier. It depends on the fee structure. The more you're there, the more hours you're there, the higher the fee's going to be. But then you'd only be there if you needed to be there. So it kind of takes care of itself, really. We help them to produce all of the, like I said, all of the tasks and that sort of thing. We get them very, very tuned into monthly reporting. And you'd be maybe surprised, I don't know, but you'd be surprised to know that 93% of businesses don't do monthly reporting. And that was a MYOB, Mind Your Own Business. It's a financial accounting software program. That was a survey they did last year in Australia and New Zealand, and I imagine US, UK, South Africa, other places are probably the same as that. Seems to be pretty typical. You need to be able to measure very accurately on a monthly basis what's going on in this business, because you also need to be able to show them the progress that they're making now that they're working with you. Like you don't want to have a client thinking, oh, I'm paying him $8,000 a month, and I don't think I'm getting value for money out of it. You don't want to get to that situation. You want to be in a situation where he's paying you $8,000 and you're making him $60,000. So that's a very important thing. We also get involved with business owners where we wear multiple hats, where we become a coach, a consultant, a friend, a mentor, a confidant, an advisor, all of these things, all mixed into one. And part of what we do, it's a small part, but it has a big effect. Part of what we do is we get involved in a coaching sense on a personal basis, because we need to maintain this relationship for the long term. Because when the relationship breaks down, then we're staring down the barrel of termination then. So it's very important that we understand and learn the correct way to maintain the relationship. Like you spent a bit of time prospecting and signing up this client, you don't want to lose them after 6 or 12 months. You want to keep them going for 5 years. And on that subject, lots of our consultants around the world have had clients for up to 5 years, 5.5 years. In fact, we only started as a franchise late 2009, so some of them have still got the original clients that they signed up. That's the point I'm trying to make. So that monthly fee, what do they get? There's also a huge lot of resources that we have as part of ConsultX, which you obviously are able to use at your desire, ranging from a whole lot of things. Like there is an A to Z of white papers, which covers nearly every possible thing that we can possibly think of involved in business. You can just either search for that, or you can just go and have a look at the indexes and print out whatever you need. There's also a huge resource of business manuals. Now, somebody asked a few questions back about, I'm really bad at financials. We have written 36 business manuals that you just read at your leisure. They're between 100 and 200 pages long. And if you're about to do, say, a merger or an acquisition and you don't know anything about it, you go and print out that manual and go and get a beer out the fridge on a Saturday morning or afternoon, read the manual. Once again, you're not going to be 100% merger and acquisition professional, but you can have about 80 to 90% of what you need to be. So there's 36 of those manuals, and they cover everything that we can think of. There's also over 200 training programs in there, which we've built up over the years. And what they are is they enable you to run training programs in your client's business. Now, just for example, let's just say you had a client and he had a couple hundred staff and he wanted to do a safety course for his people, because around the world safety is becoming very important, and directors of companies are being made liable for the safety of their employees. So instead of hiring in an outside company to do this, you can do it. And typically, our people charge about $5,000 a day. So you only need to do a couple of those a month, and there's $10,000 a month. It's a license to print money. I think there's about 220, and they cover every subject you can think of. I can't go through them all now, but if you can think of a subject, it's 95% it's there. So there's a PowerPoint presentation, there's the manual for the attendees, and then there's a facilitator's manual for you, which you use and read it beforehand, and just shows you how to run the sessions and get the most out of it. So there's a whole lot of stuff, as well as the podcasts, as well as the webinars, as well as we'll be having, once we've got going properly internationally, there'll be an international conference, probably thinking it'll be in Hawaii, because it's central to Australasia and the United States. It's a bit of a long way for the Europeans to come down, but hey, we got to have it somewhere. That'll probably be early in 2018 once we start getting the numbers up. So there's lots of new stuff coming out now. We're always upgrading ConsultX, the application itself. In fact, version 5 is about a week away, as I mentioned earlier, and we work on a continuous improvement basis, and a lot of the ideas come from you out there, and people send ideas into me on the ConsultX application itself. There's a question mark up the top, and that's where you go, and that splits into two areas. One is bugs. If you ever find a bug, tell us, and we fix it within 24 hours. But the other one is suggestions. David, have you considered this? Have you considered that? And we put it to our little committee that we have, panel, and we say, that's a good idea. Yeah, we're going to do that, and it'll come out in the next version. So the ConsultX application is being upgraded continuously and improved. And as I said, we stop doing the things that don't work so well, and spend our time on the things that work very, very well. Another question here, the last one, is I had an email about a week ago, and the person that sent me the email is actually part of our network. He's new. He's in South Africa, and he said he seemed to get a bit confused between profit leakage and the actual loss results. And he had a prospect who was losing, or last year lost 180,000 Rand, which is the currency they have there. I don't know what the exchange rate is, but he had a loss. And the profit leakage on the diagnostic came out at about 150,000 Rand. And he said, why isn't it the same? Well, the reason is they're not connected. You see, the actual loss, that 180,000 Rand that was lost, is an actual real loss calculated by an accountant, and obviously producing a set of financials and everything else. Whereas the profit leakage is an indicator only based on the numbers that were put in and the owner ranking himself on 66 of the most important elements of his business, as to whether or not he has these systems or processes or particular practices within his business. So he goes through and he does it, because if he does it, he believes it. If we do it, he may doubt it. So he does it, and with a little bit of financial data put into the diagnostic and him working through this process, the profit leakage calculator is able to calculate a theoretical profit that's leaking out of his business based on his ranking. Now, we've done over 8,000 of these. probably getting on close to 9,000 now, and the algorithms that are in the diagnostic are based on all of those diagnostics that we've done worldwide. Now the thing is that in the first few years, going back 2010, 11, 12, 13, we were changing the algorithm just a little bit every now and then, but we stopped about 2 years ago because the algorithm is perfect. There's no more changing to do, and it's working absolutely perfectly. So we don't touch it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of thing. So so the profit leakage is theoretical, and the actual is the actual. The thing is, I know it's theoretical, but you'll be surprised how darn accurate it is. Like, we've done 8,000 of these, and we go back and we research with our people in the network, how close were we to the profit leakage, and it is really close, very, very close. And the word coming back is that the profit leakage is conservative. So it's always more. Once they get into a company and they start delving into the nooks and crannies and everything, then what happens is they start finding stuff that even the owner wasn't aware of. So that's all our questions for that we've answered for today. I hope they've been of interest to you, and we've answered those questions for you. So I'd just like to finish with just saying that ConsultX is an online cloud-based consulting system that has everything you require to become a successful business consultant. And with over a decade of development, ConsultX offers you a unique opportunity to enter the profession of business consulting with a complete system ready to run straight out of the box. In other words, once you sign up for the subscription service, you have access to everything you require to become a business consultant. Now, ConsultX provides a comprehensive web-based training program where you work your way through the video training program at your pace, learning all the important information we've developed over the last decade. And if you want to know more, go to www.consultx.com, and when you get there, you'll find that there is a short video of about 25 minutes, and then there's a longer video which you send us your email address, and we then send you out the long video, 72 minutes I think it is, and there's also a manual that comes with it you can print out. So that's at www.consultx.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this weekly podcast at iTunes or Stitcher. And also don't forget to go to settings and click the tab which asks iTunes and Stitcher to send it to you automatically every week. As soon as we put one up, you get it automatically. So the podcast is called Everything Business Consulting. Everything Business Consulting. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and I'll talk to you next week in next week's podcast. Bye.